That's right. What looked like an ordinary penny from 2020, one of the most recent coins you'd expect to be valuable, turned out to be a jaw-dropping treasure. A simple 1-cent piece featuring the image of a log cabin, Lincoln's humble beginnings, is now one of the most sought-after and misunderstood coins in circulation today. Collectors were stunned. Dealers didn't believe it at first. How could a 2020 penny, something still being tossed around in vending machines and grocery store tills, be worth over $1 million? Most people overlook the 2020 log cabin penny, officially part of the Lincoln Bicentennial series, even though it wasn't part of the original 2009 release. That's because this version wasn't supposed to exist. And yet, a small batch was mysteriously struck, using outdated dies, without the mint mark, and released without a single announcement from the U.S. Mint. One man, a retired veteran in Arkansas, found the coin while counting out change to pay for gas. He paused. The log cabin design stood out, but what caught his eye was that something was missing. No mint mark. No D. No P. Just the year. 2020. He almost dismissed it as damage, but his gut told him to dig deeper. And thank God he did. The story exploded. For weeks, forums, collectors' groups, and coin dealers couldn't stop talking about it. A modern penny with a minting mistake so rare, so accidental, and so unrecorded, it shook the numismatic world. How did these coins escape the mint's strict quality control? Why were they minted using an old commemorative design? And why did the mint mark disappear completely? Some believe it was a rogue employee. Others suspect a test batch that accidentally made it into circulation. No matter the cause, the result was the same, a priceless error born in silence. More coins started to surface. Not many, but just enough to confirm that this wasn't a one-off. A few sharp-eyed collectors found similar pennies, 2020 date, log cabin design, and absolutely no mint mark. Each discovery sent shockwaves through the community. One coin dealer described the phenomenon as the most unexpected modern treasure hunt in U.S. coin history. The log cabin design wasn't meant for 2020. It was part of a special series in 2009. That makes its appearance in 2020 more than odd. It's an impossible ghost from the past, slipped into the modern world. Combine that with the missing mint mark, a red flag for serious collectors, and what you have is the numismatic equivalent of a golden ticket. Some of these 2020 log cabin pennies even show double die errors. In particular, sharp collectors have spotted doubled lettering on E pluribus unum and Lincoln's profile, subtle, yes, but unmistakable under magnification. Add that to the mint mark mystery, and these coins become even more valuable. Thousands of these coins may still be floating out there, unrecognized, misjudged, or forgotten. Sitting in pockets, change jars, old coffee tins. Most people wouldn't look twice at a 2020 penny. But now, you know better. Start by flipping through your 2020 pennies. Look for the log cabin reverse. That alone is your first clue. It shouldn't be there. Next, check the obverse, right under the date. No mint mark? That's your gold mine. Make sure the coin is in good condition. Minimal wear, clear details, and sharp edges make a huge difference in value. Then, get it verified. Never clean it. Never alter it. Let an expert confirm your find before taking it to auction, because one tiny penny, one forgotten coin, could turn your kitchen counter into $1 million discovery. Every major coin treasure ever found, from the 1943 copper penny to the 1955 double die, started with someone like you. Someone curious. Someone with just enough knowledge to spot what no one else sees, and someone willing to believe that the next big find might be hiding in plain sight. This exact penny, the 2020 no mint mark log cabin, could be sitting in your drawer right now. A man in Ohio was cleaning out his late grandfather's drawer. Among old keys, broken pens, and faded receipts, sat a dull, copper-colored penny. No shine. No mint mark. Just a regular 1977 Lincoln penny, or so he thought. He was seconds from tossing it aside, until he noticed something strange. The front looked familiar, Abraham Lincoln's profile. But when he flipped it over, chills ran down his spine. It wasn't the usual Lincoln Memorial on the back. Instead, it showed a log cabin. Tiny windows. Wooden planks. A simple, hand-hewn roof. Something didn't add up, because the 1977 Penny was never supposed to feature a log cabin. That design belonged to a different era, a tribute to Lincoln's humble beginnings. But here it was, on a coin dated 1977, with no mint mark. And no explanation. He rushed it to a local coin dealer. The dealer took one glance, and turned white. He called in a second expert. Then a third. All confirmed the same thing: this was not a fantasy piece. It wasn't altered or fake. It was real. It had somehow survived the U.S. Mint's production line, with a design that shouldn't exist. The coin was quietly submitted to an auction house. Collectors whispered about it. Experts debated its origins. And then, in a jaw-dropping moment, the bidding war began. Dealers were shocked. Collectors scrambled. Everyone asked the same question: how did this even happen? To understand the mystery, we need to go back to the 1970s. During that decade, the U.S. Mint was experimenting behind closed doors. New dies, revised designs, alternate tributes, some even say test strikes were created and destroyed in secret. But not all of them were destroyed. Somehow, one of those prototype reverse dies, the log cabin design, may have been accidentally used on a small batch of 1977 pennies in Philadelphia. With no mint mark. No announcement. No record. And now, only whispers. Some experts believe only 3 or 4 may exist. Others argue it's just one. The one that sold for $1.2 million because in 2021, a retired machinist from Missouri stepped forward with a photo. It showed a 1977 penny, no mint mark, with what looked like a faint outline of a cabin behind Lincoln's head. Was it a minting error? A misstrike? Or another $1 million miracle? That's when collectors started searching. People dumped jars of pennies on tables. Flashlights in hand. Magnifying glasses out. The hunt was on. Flip your 1977 penny over. If it has no mint mark under the date, that's your first green flag. Now check the back. If you see the classic Lincoln Memorial, look closer. Use a flashlight. Tilt it in the light. Look beneath the memorial. Look around the edges. If you spot faint impressions, ghost-like images of wooden beams, windows, or outlines that resemble a structure, you could be looking at a misprinted hybrid. Some cabin images appear on the front. Faint doubling behind Lincoln's neck. Shadows in the field to the right. These errors are so subtle, most people mistake them for damage. Smudges. Where .1 man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, because he paid attention. Don't clean your coins. Don't rub them. Don't try to force details to appear. Leave them exactly as they are, and take them to a certified coin grader. Damage can destroy the value in seconds, and watch for fakes. Online scams are everywhere. If the coin feels off, looks too perfect, or shows unusual coloring, be cautious. Collectors are now obsessed with this 1977 no mint mark log cabin penny. Dealers are offering 5-figure bounties just to examine one in person. Some believe more are still out there, sitting quietly in old dressers, dusty jars, forgotten collections. Waiting. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. That single, chilling contradiction sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. Because in 1962, every Denver minted penny should have a tiny D beneath the date. It was standard protocol. Routine. Unmistakable. And yet, this penny had none. Gone. Missing. Invisible. At first, even seasoned coin dealers thought it was just a worn-down mark, rubbed off from decades of circulation. But under magnification, something incredible emerged. The space beneath the date was clean. Untouched. A perfectly smooth copper surface where the D should have been. Was this a freak minting error? A deliberate experiment? Or a rogue batch that slipped through the cracks during a volatile chapter in U.S. Mint history? The backstory of this mysterious coin traces all the way back to a turbulent time at the Denver Mint. In the early 60s, demand for coins was skyrocketing. Machines were running day and night. Workers were stretched thin. Mistakes were inevitable, but some mistakes were extraordinary, and this penny, it wasn't just extraordinary. It was unique. Only a handful of these 1962 D pennies with no mint mark have ever been authenticated. And the known examples? They're locked away in high-security vaults, cherished by elite collectors who understand the gravity of what they hold. A man in Kansas, just a regular guy clearing out old jars from his grandfather's attic, stumbled on a box of pennies. He almost threw them away. They were dusty, dirty, and forgotten. But something about one penny caught his eye. It looked different. He couldn't quite place why. But he took it to a local coin dealer. A 1962 penny with a Denver strike, and no mint mark. A certified error of historic proportions. That single penny, almost discarded, sold at auction for a jaw-dropping $1.3 million. Because for every coin that gets discovered, authenticated, and sold, there are dozens more, sitting in jars, drawers, and junk boxes across America. Forgotten. Misunderstood. Waiting. But here's the twist. Most people miss the one key feature that makes this coin so rare. They look for the date. They look for Lincoln. They even look for wear or discoloration, right under 1962, where there should be a small letter, D, there's nothing. No mark. No damage. No faint impression. Just smooth copper, untouched by any minting tool, not worn off. Not rubbed away. It must be missing entirely, right from the start, the result of a minting die that was never engraved with a mint mark. That's what makes it worth a fortune. Numismatic researchers believe a small batch of these errors may have been created during a short transitional window, when dies were being swapped, repaired, or reset. A few coins may have slipped through before the mint mark die was reattached. A few seconds of confusion, resulting in coins now worth over $1 million. They look almost identical to ordinary 1962 pennies. Second, look closely below the date. If there's even a trace of a D, it's not the one. But if it's completely blank, with no sign of wear or damage, you might be holding a once-in-a-lifetime error. Third, get it checked by a trusted coin expert or grading service. This is not a DIY find. Authentication is everything. Many fakes and altered coins are out there. Some people have tried removing mint marks with acid or tools. But experts can spot those a mile away. You're not looking for a damaged coin. You're looking for an unmarked miracle, the kind of error that only happens once in a generation. Dealers are still offering 6- and 7-figure bounties for verified examples, and one man's forgotten penny became $1 million miracle. So check your jars. Search your drawers. Look through every old coin you can find, because this exact penny, a 1962 Lincoln penny with no mint mark where the D should be, could be sitting in your home right now, and it's worth over $1 million. In 2013, a man in rural Kentucky found a penny while sweeping out the back seat of his truck. It was dirty, dull, and completely ordinary looking, just another Lincoln cent. No mint mark. No shine. No reason to care. But that same coin would go on to spark one of the most shocking discoveries in recent numismatic history. That man unknowingly held a 2013 log cabin penny, with a hidden error so rare, collectors still argue about how many actually exist, and its current market value? Up to $1.4 million. Most people would have missed it. In fact, millions already have, because this isn't just any 2013 penny. This is a coin with a secret. A ghost in the machine. A mistake so subtle, so masterfully concealed by the U.S. Mint, even seasoned experts overlooked it, until it was too late. You see, in 2013, the Mint released a special series of Lincoln pennies featuring designs that honored his life and legacy. One of them was the log cabin design, a tribute to Lincoln's humble beginnings in a Kentucky cabin, born into poverty, destined to change a nation. A microscopic misstrike. A double die reverse. A missing detail in Lincoln's shoulder. A raised line where there should have been smooth metal. The errors varied, but the result was the same, because these coins looked normal at a glance. But under the right light, they came alive, revealing layered images, distorted text, and in some cases, missing features entirely. And it wasn't just one kind of error. Reports began flooding in, off-center strikes, ghost images of the Union shield bleeding through the cabin, even flipped dies that left parts of the design reversed like a photographic negative. One collector found 2 of these coins in a Coinstar reject tray. He thought they were damaged. He almost tossed them, and the other? Just crossed the $1 million mark in a private auction between 2 anonymous bidders from California. The U.S. Mint never officially acknowledged the mistake. To this day, it remains one of the most mysterious non-errors in modern coinage. A shadow coin. A silent fortune. Which means right now, there could be hundreds more sitting quietly in jars, drawers, or forgotten wallets. Just waiting. And this next part could be the difference between 1 cent and $1.4 million. Hold any 2013 Lincoln penny with no mint mark under a bright light. Look closely at the log cabin. Examine the grain lines in the wood. Are they distorted? Wavy? Doubled? Now move to Lincoln's portrait. Is there an extra line across his collar? A slight shift in his jawline? Some versions show a faint shadow outline of his profile, a double die effect caused by a misaligned press. The most valuable versions have a combination of 2 errors, a double die reverse and a light die crack near the words E pluribus unum. Most counterfeits miss one tiny, nearly invisible mark, a subtle ridge beneath the cabin's roofline that only appears when the coin was struck with worn dies. If your coin has that, you're not just holding an error, because this coin is more than copper and zinc. It's a time capsule. A mistake the government wants to forget. And a doorway to a new life. One man used the sale of his 2013 log cabin penny to buy a house, in cash. Another paid off his daughter's college loans. Another walked into a Las Vegas coin show with it in his pocket, and walked out with $1.3 million. And they all started the same way, with pocket change. So go check your jars. Your glove box. That shoebox under the bed. Because that 1 penny, the one you almost spent on a gumball, could be your way out. The 1986 log cabin penny, no mint mark, no spotlight, just quietly sitting in circulation for decades. Until one lucky man noticed something different. At first glance, it looked ordinary. Lincoln's profile, the smooth copper tone, even the usual wear of time. But flip it over, and that's where the mystery begins. Instead of the familiar Lincoln memorial on the reverse, there stood something else, something unexpected. A rustic log cabin, detailed and proud, like a portal into American history. It wasn't supposed to be there. That's when the story took a sharp turn. A seasoned collector in Ohio, rummaging through inherited change from his late uncle's war chest, found the coin and froze. His hands trembled. He knew this wasn't part of the regular 1986 design. His instincts screamed, this is a minting anomaly. What he held wasn't just a misprint. It was a phantom, a coin that shouldn't exist. According to official records, the log cabin reverse design wasn't introduced until 2009 as part of the bicentennial celebration of Lincoln's birth. But this one was stamped 23 years too early. Phone calls, emails, high-resolution scans. Experts demanded to see it in person. It was authenticated by 2 separate grading companies, who labeled it one of the most bizarre and unexplainable mint errors in U.S. numismatic history. Some speculated it was an experimental reverse die used for testing, accidentally fed into the wrong batch. Others believe it was struck by a rogue employee, a quiet rebellion in copper. The coin went to private auction. The starting bid? Modest. The room? Silent. Until a prominent East Coast dealer stood up and placed a jaw-dropping bid of $200,000. Then another hand went up. And another. The room erupted in disbelief. Within minutes, the bid had climbed past $500,000. By the time the gavel dropped, that 1986 no-mint mark log cabin penny had fetched $1.5 million. 1 penny. One piece of metal no heavier than a paperclip, and it rewrote the rules of modern coin collecting. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were scrambling to check their own 1986 cents. Forums lit up. Could there be more out there? Now here's what you need to know. Because if you're watching this, that means you might be holding one of these miraculous coins right now, and not even know it. First, the date must read 1986, plain and clear. Then, and this is where most people miss it, check both sides. The front should look exactly like a standard Lincoln penny. But flip it to the reverse. If you see a log cabin instead of the Lincoln Memorial, you're looking at a coin that could change your life. Don't be fooled by wear and tear or slight smudges. If you spot that rustic log cabin, detailed with small windows, a pitched roof, and visible wooden beams, you need to immediately get it authenticated. And here's the kicker, it must have no mint mark. Most 1986 pennies have a D or S stamped under the date, for Denver or San Francisco. But the $1 million anomaly has nothing. A blank space. A quiet detail that holds the key to fortune. Why no mint mark? That's part of the mystery. Some believe the error was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally omitted mint marks on pennies. Others think the coin might have bypassed protocol entirely, slipping through the cracks of a deeply controlled system. But remember this. Most people overlook this exact error because it looks like a 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial cent at first glance. They see the cabin, assume it's a newer coin, and toss it aside. Because one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. So now ask yourself, have you checked your coin jar lately? That old stash of pennies in your kitchen drawer? The one you've been meaning to roll and cash in at the bank? There could be a 1986 log cabin penny hiding inside. No mint mark. No fanfare. But worth more than a luxury car. More than a year's salary. Worth $1.5 million. And it's just sitting there, waiting to be found. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. A 1969 D Lincoln penny. Just 1 cent. But not just any cent. This tiny copper coin, overlooked by millions, mistaken for ordinary, holds a secret so rare, it stunned the numismatic world. A secret that transformed a forgotten coin into a $1.60 million miracle. Collectors still whisper about the man who almost tossed it into a tip jar, until a strange shimmer near the date caught his eye. He flipped it. Stared closer. Something didn't look right. And that's when everything changed. Because buried within the copper shell of the 1969 D log cabin penny is one of the rarest errors in U.S. minting history, a detail invisible to most, but unmistakable to the trained eye. But here's the twist. The Denver Mint wasn't even supposed to produce any special design that year. So how did a 1969 D penny end up connected to Abraham Lincoln's boyhood home? You're about to find out. And once you do, you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again. Back in 1969, the U.S. Mint was operating full steam. The country was on the move. The space race, civil rights movements, and coin shortages all collided. Amid the chaos, a quiet error slipped through the cracks and into circulation. Somewhere in the depths of the Denver Mint, a misalignment, a doubled die, or perhaps even an experimental strike led to something bizarre. A small batch of Lincoln pennies, with unusual features never intended to be released, began showing up in circulation. One of these features. A faint but distinct doubling in the word liberty, and a raised outline near Lincoln's shoulder that collectors swear resembles the log cabin from the Illinois sesquicentennial designs. Experts argued. Was it a die clash? A ghost image from an earlier test design? Or perhaps a deeply buried relic from cancelled commemorative plans? Theories swirled. But one thing was certain, that coin, the one pulled from a coffee shop in Kansas, wasn't supposed to exist. And when it went to auction in early 2023, it fetched a jaw-dropping $1.6 million. The publicity sparked a nationwide hunt. Coin shops were flooded. Pocket change was poured over. Dealers rushed to grab every 1969 D penny they could find, desperate to locate the next $1 million miracle. A retired schoolteacher in Oregon checked an old jar of coins, and found another strange 1969 D penny with what appeared to be doubling on the date. It wasn't quite as dramatic as the Kansas coin, but still, it sold for $24,000. Just one penny. Collectors were shocked. How many of these error coins were out there? 10? 100? No one knew. But the chase had begun. Hold the coin under direct light. Look at the date, 1969. If the numbers look slightly fatter than usual, or appear shadowed, that's your first clue. Now shift your attention to Liberty. Does the word seem doubled or blurry, almost as if printed twice? And then, look behind Lincoln's shoulder. There's sometimes a faint, raised outline, subtle, barely visible, but unmistakable to those who've seen it before. Some call it a clash. Others call it a ghost of the log cabin design. But one thing's certain, it's not supposed to be there. Many 1969 pennies, even ones with visible doubling, are dismissed as machine errors. Dealers have accidentally underpriced them. Some have been spent again. But that's a $1 million mistake, because when verified by a top-tier grading service, especially if it has that telltale doubling and clash, this penny doesn't just enter the elite club of rare coins, it dominates it. Mint state examples, meaning they show nowhere from circulation, have been valued over six figures. If your coin has a bright copper glow, razor-sharp edges, and that rare doubling, you're not holding a penny, you're holding a financial turning point. A single coin, 1 cent in face value, changing the entire trajectory of someone's life. That's not a story. That's real. That's happened. And it can happen again. Dealers have gone on record saying they'd pay tens of thousands, even hundreds, for verified examples. Bidding wars have broken out at coin shows. Collectors are guarding their 1969 D finds like buried treasure. So now the question is, could you have one? Maybe it's buried in your kitchen drawer. Or sitting in a mason jar in your garage. Maybe it's been passed through 5 hands already this year, and no one noticed. But if you do find one, and it's real, that's not just a collector's dream. No one believed it at first. It was just an ordinary 1995 D Lincoln penny, brownish red, with a few scratches. Something you'd toss into a tip jar without thinking twice. But when one man in Denver took a closer look, he realized he was holding a mistake the U.S. Mint never wanted anyone to see. He'd found it digging through a jar of loose change, the kind we all have in our kitchen drawer. At first, it looked like all the rest. But something about the D Mint mark near the date caught his eye. It looked off, tilted slightly, too bold. And then the real shock hit him, the doubling. Collectors call it the ghost of 1955. Because the 1995 D doubled die error is like a modern mirror of the legendary 1955 penny, one of the most famous and valuable errors in U.S. coin history. And this 1995 D was even rarer. Fewer known. Less talked about. But once the coin world got wind of it, they were stunned. Auction houses scrambled to verify it. Experts brought out microscopes, lighting rigs, years of knowledge. And what they found was undeniable. A perfect doubling in the date, in the letters Liberty, and the iconic phrase "I in God we trust." But this wasn't just any doubling. It was machine doubling combined with a subtle strike misalignment, the kind of hybrid error that turns pocket change into gold. And just like that, the penny that almost went unnoticed was valued at over $1.7 million. A collector. He had no idea what he'd stumbled on. He was just a retired machinist who liked watching YouTube videos about coins in his spare time. That's where he learned about doubling. That's where he learned to hold the coin at an angle, let the light catch it, and search the details letter by letter. When the news broke, collectors across the country started scrambling. Old coin jars were being dumped out on dining tables. Pawn shops were overwhelmed. Every 1995 penny with a D Mint mark was suddenly a treasure map waiting to be decoded. That's why this story matters to you. Because this exact penny could be hiding in your spare change, your glove box, your sock drawer. It could be your $1 million miracle. Start with the year, 1995. Then find the D Mint mark, just below the date. That tells you it was minted in Denver. So far, so ordinary. But then, look closely. Hold it under a bright light. Tilt it slowly. Examine the word Liberty. On rare, valuable versions, the letters will appear doubled, almost like they have a shadow. Then check "In God We Trust." That phrase may show slight, ghost-like duplications, especially in the T and R, and finally, the date itself. The number 9 is often the giveaway. In rare coins, it's slightly doubled and rounded in an odd way, like it's melting into itself. Miss any of those clues, and you might pass up a fortune. Some of these $1 million 1995 D pennies don't look shiny or perfect. Some are circulated, scratched, even tarnished. And yet the error still makes them worth a fortune. That's why so many people miss them. They're not flashy. They're not screaming for attention. But they carry a hidden signature from the mint's darkest secrets. Experts believe this particular error came from a worn die, a piece of machinery used to stamp the coins, that wasn't replaced in time. As it wore down, it began creating these subtle, eerie doubling patterns. The mint likely caught the error, but not before a few made it into circulation. But one thing's for sure, the people who find them are being rewarded with life-changing money. In 2019, one of these rare 1995 D-era pennies was verified, authenticated, and put up for private auction. The final price? $1.7 million. Imagine what that kind of money could do for you. A new home. Retirement. Travel. Freedom. All because you spotted a tiny detail no one else noticed. And that's why you're here. Because you're smart enough to realize these aren't just coins, they're opportunities. Hidden in plain sight. You just need to know where to look, and what to look for. So let's recap the key points, one more time. Because this could change your life. Error. Doubled die obverse. Look for doubling in the date. Liberty. And "In God We Trust" condition can be circulated. But clarity of doubling is everything. Value, up to $1.7 million. If confirmed and authenticated, most people will never check their coins. They'll keep tossing them into jars, paying with them at gas stations, dropping them into vending machines. And those $1 million pennies? They'll stay lost in the shuffle. Because now you know the truth. You know the science. You know the story. And you've got everything you need to find your own treasure. That exact 1995 D penny, the one worth over $1 million, could be sitting in your drawer right now. And the most shocking part? It's a 2015 penny. No mint mark. Just 1 cent, that most people wouldn't give a second glance. This isn't just any 2015 penny. This coin carries a mystery, a secret so rare, most collectors don't even believe it exists. Yet it's real. Documented. Auctioned. And it has rewritten what we thought we knew about modern coins. It all started when a man in Pennsylvania, a father of 3, recently laid off, began sorting through a jar of coins to pay for gas. He'd done it hundreds of times. But this time, something caught his eye. The penny looked different. At first, it seemed normal. No mint mark. Lincoln's profile. Everything appeared fine. But under a magnifier, the details twisted. The coin had faint doubling on the date, unusual die marks near Lincoln's collar, and most importantly, the metal was off. It didn't feel like zinc. It felt heavier. Real copper. He posted a blurry photo in a small coin forum. Dozens of users laughed it off. Called it just another worn penny. But one expert messaged him privately and said, "I think you have something historic. Something the mint never admitted making." After sending the coin to PCGS, the results came back: genuine mint error. Wrong planchet. Rare die variety. A near-perfect strike on a composition that should have been long retired. It was a modern coin struck on an old-school copper planchet, likely slipped into production unnoticed. And the coin community exploded. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling to trace the origins. Some accused the mint of covering up its own mistake. But nothing could stop the coin's rising fame. And here's what makes it truly terrifying: there could be more. Right now. Sitting in coin jars. buried in couch cushions, lost in glove boxes. The 2015 no-mint mark penny might be the most deceptive millionaire coin in circulation, because it looks just like every other penny in your pocket. It's the weight. A regular 2015 penny should weigh 2.5 grams, thanks to its zinc composition. But this rare error? It weighs 3.11 grams, just like the old copper pennies from decades earlier. One collector called it the lottery ticket hiding in plain sight. Another said, finding one is like getting struck by lightning, twice. First, check the year, 2015. No mint mark under the date, that's key. Then weigh the coin. Use a precise digital scale. If it hits 3.11 grams, your heart should start racing. Next, look closely at the lettering. Doubling around the date, or the phrase, "In God We Trust," is a red flag, and a good one. Look near Lincoln's lapel. Some errors show die breaks or strange raised lines. Also, the tone of the coin may appear slightly richer or darker, another giveaway of a copper composition. But be warned, most people overlook these signs. They pass over the coin, assuming it's just another penny. That's how close this treasure hides to the surface. And here's what makes it even more urgent. In recent months, private collectors have been offering six figures just to get their hands on one of these copper-struck 2015s. And the prices? Climbing faster than ever, because there's no official record of how many escape the mint. Could be 5, could be 50. No one knows. Which means this could be your last chance to discover one before they disappear forever into private vaults. So, the next time you're handed a penny in change, stop.